Oh, hello. How are we all doing? Can you hear me? Hmm. I'm not seeing the dots on my microphone, so I'm not sure if you can hear me. Ahoy, ahoy. Huh. Oh, good, 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 good. Um, hi, you are all very welcome. Here we are on this November day, this random day in November. Do you like my fantabulous mustache thing? I probably should have styled it up a little bit more. I have been kind of popping it out on either side, but today I was slightly lazy. It's a slightly psychologically taxing day today, shall we say. And I don't even live in America. I live in Ireland. But I suppose I'm kind of sitting there going, right, what's going to be in that video whenever I make it? So, yeah, I do look a little bit like Chester A. Arthur. Yes, yeah. Whenever I was shaving it off, if you want to see me shaving it, there's a video of me shaving it off on my Instagram page. Just hop over to John D. Ruddy on Instagram, and you can see the madness unfold. Because obviously I started off with a beard, and I started off with a beard, and I was like, well, there's no point in me shaving away the beard just to grow back a mustache when I have all of this that I can play about with. And the reason why is that I am doing this for Movember. And what I'm actually going to do now that I think about it is I'm going to share the link with you. Movember, of course, being raising money for charity, and that charity being Men's Health. Now, some people have been kind of wondering, oh, well, why just men's health? Why not women's health? And it's like, yes, of course, women's health is a massive thing. Culturally, I suppose there's a tendency in and around men's health. Men have a tendency of kind of, now again, generalizing here, but there's a tendency amongst men to kind of just keep to themselves and say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm grand. I don't need to get that checked. My mental health is fine. I just need to man up and crack on with it and just not do." So yeah, that's partially, or at least that's kind of my reasoning behind doing Movember, because this year in particular is really let's see. Um, what was I going to say? Yeah, this year has been particularly taxing for everybody. With all of this COVID stuff. So I just thought, you know what? I'm in November. Well, because as well, I usually kind of don't do any extremes with my facial hair anyway. I usually kind of keep a beard. First of all, because I like it, but second of all, with regards acting, it's kind of convenient to have a beard, because for acting, if I need a beard for a production, I have a ready-made beard. But with all these kind of COVID times, acting is much more few and far between, and I really miss it. So I kind of thought that I would do something, and of course, me being me, I would have to do something stupidly ostentatious, because that's just what I do. So how are you all doing? I'm still trying to get this link, and of course, the moment I try and go and find the link, it gets painfully slow. I should have had this ready, shouldn't I? Oh well. Actually, I can just go to my Instagram because hashtag link in the bio, and I can just get it there, can't I? Would be the most convenient. Yes, there we go. Facebook is just way too slow. Oh my god, it's painful. Is this the link to my page? Yes, indeed. Okay, cool. I'm going to share the link here, folks. If and this is a big if, are able to donate, that would be fantastic. At the moment, we're like, this is only the beginning. There we go. There we go. That's the link there. That should work. If you have any bother with that, just let me know. But if you are in a position to be able to donate, that would be fantastic. At the moment, we're sitting on €10, so we're still at the beginning of Movember, but I hope that we can raise more funds above and beyond that. So yeah, like last year was a very stressful time for me personally. There was a lot going on in my life, a lot of changes, and the certain aspect, I'm not going to go into details, but there are certain aspects of it where I needed help with my mental health. And so I was able to go and get help for it. I went to the doctor. There was one particular day where it was particularly bad, where I was sitting there going, I need to talk to a doctor right now because some of these thoughts in my head are really worrying me, and they're thoughts that I maybe haven't had before. So I went to a doctor, to the GP, and I explained how I was feeling and how it was really scaring me, and I really wanted to talk to a professional about this. And they were able to refer me onto a professional. And a couple of weeks later, I was able to get chat. Well, yeah, actually, it was the very next day I got chatting to a stress levels kind of got up again, anxiety got up again, and I was like, I need to talk to somebody again. And I did talk to somebody again, a professional, and it was great because I was able to work through a lot of things. Now, I'm lucky enough in that I'm very used to chatting through a lot of my problems. There's a lot of people out there, particularly men, who are not good at chatting about your problems, and not good at chatting about how things make you feel or where things might have come from. You just have a tendency sometimes of, it'll be grand. Let's just go and watch something together and not talk about anything specific. Like I'm doing now with zero specifics. Haha. So if you are in the position to donate, that would be fantastic. It's just there. The link is in the chat. So let's see who's saying what. No, it is not triple N. I'm not doing that. Why? Yes, Movember is simply grow a mustache Movember. So you grow a blah, 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 blah. Yes, I speaks words well. But yeah, so let's see who's saying what. So obviously, as I was saying as well, I'm going to be doing these live streams, these live chats in YouTube publicly now, because the live streams are no longer exclusively Patreon. Now, those who are in Patreon are able to ask me exclusive questions there, and they get tons of sneak peeks. I also updated a lot of the benefits on Patreon. So now, those with €5 plus, they get a custom Maniman profile picture. So you can send me a picture of, like if you wanted a celebrity or if you want it yourself, I can draw a Maniman version of you. There's Maniman Oliver Cromwell. If you want Oliver Cromwell, I can get you a picture of Oliver Cromwell. So you can get a custom Maniman profile picture for €5 a month plus on Patreon. And there's all sorts of other wee benefits. You get free magnets sent out to you. You get, what else? Get free magnets for €10 plus. I will do a custom Maniman image for you, up to 3 characters, and I will post it to you. And €20 a month. You'll, on top of all of that, you'll also get one of my books, Maniman Does the History of Ireland, or Maniman Does Revolutionary Ireland, whichever you choose. So let's have a wee look, see what people are saying. So Hitchbrick is asking, when will the next video about the Kings of England arrive? That is a very good question. I have been working on that. I have been super busy. I have not stopped since the lockdown between different projects, between my own projects, but mainly other things. From September on, it has actually been really busy. I've been working with a creative schools project in St. Sapphin's National School in Doneloop. Big it up. I was working with them all throughout September, October, going through the creative process with them and showing them how to create videos of their own. So we had a whole pile of illustrated videos which they wrote and created themselves. So it was a lot of fun. But on top of that, that was a lot of work for me as well, kind of working with them. And I did quite a bit of the video editing as well, just to make sure that they all looked nice. And then on top of that, I also last week did a spooky comic book illustration workshop with the PRONI, which is the public. Oh my God, what is it? The Archives of Northern Ireland, PRONI, the Public Relations Office. No, public. I really should know that, but PRONI, PRONI. And so I was working with loads of young people all across Northern Ireland, doing that, which was great. And this week I am talking with a lot of these are via Zoom. And so this week I'm doing a whole pile of presentations about the Irish War of Independence with 8 different classrooms across Donegal, my home county here in the northwest of Ireland. So that's been fun. And then I'm also doing illustrations for a project for the GAA, for the Gaelic Athletic Association, because in a couple of weeks, on the 21st of November, it will be the 100th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, with the 1920 Bloody Sunday, where in the morning, Michael Collins's forces went out and killed several British spy operatives across Dublin. And that afternoon, British forces arrived to Croke Park to a Gaelic football match and opened fire on the crowd and killed 13 people. And, well, they shot dead 13 people, and a 14th person was trampled to death in the panic. It was horrific, and it is one of the many reasons why Irish people sometimes have a little bit of a reservation towards England kind of dictating what we do or do not do, because we have a very checkered past with England and with the British. Fun. But yeah, so amidst all of that, I have been slowly but surely working on the Kings of England Part 2. So it'll be the Normans. It'll go from, who'll it go from? Oh, it goes from William the Conqueror all the way up to, I think, is Edward the First or Edward the Second. One of the Edwards. There's three in a row Edwards. I have a big poster here of all the kings and queens of England and like all the kind of lineage of them, so I can keep track while I'm working here. I can very quickly make sense of it all. Now, unfortunately, I cannot pick up I can't pick up pictures to show you as I have done in previous live streams, because you may have noticed in my civil rights video that I have gone digital. I now have this wonderful Wacom tablet, which I am drawing on. And I was very stubborn, you may have noticed, to go digital for years and years and years and years and years. Yeah, it got to a point where I was just like, John, just invest in a tablet. Well, because I was always so kind of adamant about the about keeping it the hand-drawn aesthetic. You know, that's the style of Manny Man was very much, you know, it was hand-drawn with colored in with markers. But I have worked out a way of emulating the marker style, which is a lot of fun. It's now you'll see there is a slight difference in my civil rights part 1 video, because it's not, that was a technique that I won't be continuing to do, because you know, it was an experiment to see if I could do it. But I wasn't 100% happy with it, and also my hand was very tired afterwards, because it was about kind of the pressure opacity. So what's cool about the about this tablet is that it's pressure sensitive. So you know, it works like a pencil, you know, where if you press down hard on it, it'll be darker. So I was kind of playing about with that to see if that could create the marker effect. But I have worked out a much better, much more efficient, much more effective method of coloring them in and using markers. So that is super exciting, and I'm not going to tell you, it's a little trade secret. But yeah, I have worked out how to emulate the markers on the computer, which is very exciting altogether. At least I find it exciting. So let's see. Yeah, right now at the moment, the artwork, I've just killed William the Conqueror, and yeah, I'm halfway through to William II, so I'm still kind of early days. Before Christmas, I aim to have it, because, well, I have this GAA project to finish, and then once that is finished, I have that to do, and then I have a video. I want to do a supercut of the presidents. You know, so I have a lot of artwork. I have the script written, rewritten. I have, and I want to do it as one big solid. Maybe it'll be like a 40-minute rundown of the presidents. I'm going to re-record the voice, and there's more detail about each president as well. It's probably one of the biggest projects I've done. I mean, it will be recycling older, you know, content that you've seen before, but it will have more content as well. So I'm very excited to actually see that, to put it together, to see how that will work. And then, of course, you know, it will include the presidency of Donald Trump. Hopefully, it will be just the four years of Donald Trump. Hopefully, because as we all know, the votes are being counted as we speak. I have quiet hope for Biden, but you know, to quote George W. Bush, "Fool me once, shame on you. If you fool me, you can't get fooled again." Oh God! All right, let's see. Yes, Movember is a thing for men's health. Also, SGS loving the. As far as I can see, that's Big Boss as your profile picture. Love me some Metal Gear Solid. you actually look, yeah, I can show you because it's right here. May as well. I have the entire collection. I'm actually quite pleased with this. I have my entire collection of Metal Gear Solid. So I've got, and they're placed in chronological order because I'm a geek like that. So I've got Metal Gear Solid 3, and then Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. But then, well, then it gets confusing though at the same time because you've also got the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which includes Solid Snake and Peace Walker. Peace Walker is an excellent game. I love Peace Walker. And then in Metal Gear Solid 3, you've also got Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, so you can play those as well. And then we've got, where are we? Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. I think the box, yeah, I think Metal Gear, I think Phantom Pain is downstairs where I play it, although I haven't played it in a while. Now I've got the original Metal Gear Solid, and then Metal Gear Solid 2 is in the HD collection, and then Metal Gear Solid 4, which was the reason I bought a PS4 in the first place, or PS3 in the first place. Metal Gear Solid 5 was the reason I bought a PS4. And so far, I do not have a reason to buy a PS5. I have no time to play it. But yeah, loving the Metal Gear Solid thing. Let's see. Could you make a video how to draw like you? Well, I have started to do some of those John Draws videos, where it's just me. It's just like a sped up version of me drawing. Like at the moment, the most recent one I did there was Westminster Abbey. I suppose I could do a tutorial. You see, the thing about doing a full on tutorial is technically there is a bit more time for that, and to be honest, I'd prefer to be putting the time into producing the Manny Man Does History videos. But if there is a demand, if you kind of keep them coming on and kind of going, or even better, if you join on Patreon and you make the suggestion there, it'll kind of have even more sway in there. Yeah, at the moment the John Draws is something that I have been doing, and that's been a lot easier now with the tablet as well, where I'm able to just screen capture while I'm drawing, which is very handy. And yeah, so that means that I'm able to produce a second video while producing the artwork for the first video. So that's something that I've been trying to do to see how that works. So let me know what you think on those as well. There've been, obviously, now the John Draws, anything that's not Manny Man Does History doesn't get as big views on this channel. That's something that I've been noticing. So it's always kind of de-incentivized me to branch out more. I mean, I do have my podcast Where Many Have Gone Before, and there's video versions of 2 episodes of that so far over on John D. Ruddy Does Stuff, which is my second channel, which hasn't been as active, but again, I've just been so busy. I've been so busy with various kind of projects and whatnot. It's been very difficult to get time to do all of these things. Now it will be different, and I'm not, well, I kind of am, hint, whatever. But at the moment, Patreon, there is a small and steady support on Patreon, but that isn't enough to kind of be doing all this kind of stuff full time. So that's the thing. I am still having to think about doing other projects outside of YouTube to keep myself going and to make sure, particularly in these difficult times, thankfully, knock on wood, thankfully, I have been keeping relatively steady with work, which is good, which is something that not every person working in a lot of sectors, but particularly in the creative sector, can say. I have a lot of friends who are struggling massively right now. So, give a think to that as well. What do you think of Michael Martin? Asks Nathan Riley. Well, I just received an email the other day from the office of Michael Martin saying we received your poster. So a couple of weeks ago, it was Culture Night, so it was one of the last weeks of September. I was in Dublin for a day. It was like literally the day before lockdown. They locked the place down, and I was giving a tour of the what's called Campshire's, the North Wall and Campshire's, which I've been doing through the Five Lamps Arts Festival. And it's through them that I've been doing a lot of extra illustration work. And on that day, I decided to double job it. And let's see, actually, I can show you one of them because I have a whole pile of them here. I may as well. Oh, there we go. I went around Dublin and I was like, right, I'm in Dublin and I don't know when I'm going to be in Dublin next. And this is the way I kind of like to do things kind of business-wise sometimes, is just go into said place and present them with a sample. And so I presented a whole pile of different places across Dublin with a sample of this Irish History timeline poster. You may have seen this artwork before. You can see there. I don't know if you've seen it backwards or not, but, you get the idea. It's the whole timeline of Irish history, at least. It doesn't have COVID on it yet. But yeah, so it's a lovely little poster. And these are available through me. If you contact me through Facebook, we can get one to you, or you can get a print-on-demand one. The dimensions aren't as precise on the print-on-demand ones. They're through my website on johndruddy.com. And yeah, so I walked the length and breadth of Dublin city centre, going into every single tourist shop, gift shop that was open. And while I was there, while I was kind of walking through, because I went into the National History Museum, and I was like, well, this would be a perfect place for this. And while I was kind of walking around that area, I was like, the department of the Taoiseach is just around the corner. So I wandered into the office, or the opening office, and was just like, hey, I have a poster for the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach, so here you go. And they were like, okay. But yeah, no, so they ultimately did pass it on. So I passed one on to Michael Martin. So he now has, or at least the office of An Taoiseach has a copy of this. So that's kind of cool. Whatever they do with it, who's to know? But what do I think of Michael Martin? I mean, I voted for Sinn Féin in, when was it, January? So long ago, whenever it was. I actually cast an absentee ballot because I was out of the country. I was in Mexico whenever the actual election went on, but I organized an absentee ballot, which is not corrupt, which is not, it's not cheating. It was a legit vote, and it was counted as far as I know. But yeah, so I voted for Sinn Féin. It was my first time voting for Sinn Féin. I figured this time around, I don't know, I was always hesitant because I wasn't a fan of the idea of Gerry Adams as Taoiseach. I just felt he had a lot of baggage, a lot of stuff going along with him that I just didn't like the idea of him as Taoiseach. So I found it difficult to vote for Sinn Féin in the past. However, it got to the point where this time around I decided Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have had literally almost 100 years of trying to get this country to work. And I thought it was time for a change. I thought it was time. And thankfully we have a system, proportional representation, where we are able to vote third and fourth and fifth party, where we're not just stuck with two parties theoretically. And yes, of course, this time, because of the proportional representation system, we ended up with a 20% split, more or less. I mean, Sinn Féin did have a little bit more of a thing, but they couldn't get the numbers to form a coalition. So I get the impression anytime I see Micheál Martin speaking, I feel like he knows he shouldn't be there. I feel like he knows that that's not what the people of Ireland wanted. The people of Ireland wanted change, and he was not change. He has been trying to become Taoiseach for probably decades. And I think, there's a lot of, there were enough people in Leinster House who are like, oh, sure, it's his time now. He's put in his time. It's time now. He should be Taoiseach now. I think, I mean, and not only that, but like I would have voted more Fine Gael than Fianna Fáil in the past, partially because when I was 19 or 20, the financial crash happened, and Fianna Fáil were at the helm for that. So that still is in my memory, and because of that, I have little time for Fianna Fáil. And yes, Fine Gael brought in a ton of austerity, but they didn't drive the country into the ground the way as irresponsibly as Fianna Fáil did. And I am hopeful. I think in the next election, given that Sinn Féin made great gains in the 2016, was it 2016? Whatever the last election was, I think it was 2016. They made great gains in that last election, and they made even more gains in this election. I think next time around, hopefully, providing the political climate, they'll do better, or another party can come in that's more progressive and more kind of environmentally conscious than this Green Party at the moment, who are just like, oh, let's just tax everything. People can just, we can scare the environment away with taxes. Yay. I mean, yeah, I get you have to pay for things, but it's just Green Party. You did it before. So in the early days of Maniman drawing, when it was a web comic, that was right in the middle of this whole the whole financial crash, and Fianna Fáil turning to Mulch and Brian Cowan and all of that. And so it's very vivid in my mind, because I just remember making so many different comics about it. And the Green Party were propping up the Fianna Fáil government then. And loads of people were like, seriously, Green Party, all you have to do is just pull out, and people will and we'll go to an election. Like, people were just like, seriously, we want an election now. Green Party, you have the power, do it. And I remember whenever they finally did, I did a comic where they were all, the Green Party were at the Green Party headquarters, and they were all standing around a tree. They were all just watching this tree. And finally, a little pear pops out of the tree, and they all celebrate. They're like, yay, we did it. We finally grew a pear. And that is the pinnacle of my punnage. I have not made a better pun. I've not made a better joke since then. That was my peak right there, nearly 10 years ago. but still, I'm very proud of that one. As bad upon as it is. Let's see. Um, Daniel Rodriguez is asking, if my chat hasn't frozen. There we go. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The chat. Yeah, the chat did continue on. Would you move to Twitch, or do you prefer YouTube or for live streams? I have, funnily enough, today I was setting up Twitch Studio. So I think I will continue on YouTube for this kind of a live stream where I'm like chatting with you straight off. But I have been gearing up for an expansion, and it probably won't be until next year, but I am planning on moving into Twitch. Partially, I think I'm going to do a lot of my artwork on Twitch. Just live stream it while I'm drawing something, so you can see my method, and I can chat away while we do that. But then on top of that as well, I want to play some video games, and there's so many video games, particularly like retro video games, that I rarely just get the time to play anymore. And it's sad that I'm at a point where the only way that I can legitimately play some of these games is if I monetize it in some way. So that I may have to do that. But yeah, I definitely want to do it. You can go over and follow me now. I'm over at I'm over there now. I'm at Twitch, just John D. Ruddy. You should find me. So you can go and follow me now and get a head start whenever I finally do get everything set up. But yeah, I do have plans. I'm still trying to work out how Twitch works, to be quite honest. Yeah, like as much of a as tech savvy as I am also not. Like, there are certain things that I'm really good at, that I know how it does, and then there's other things where I'm just like, I have no idea how this works. Also, I downloaded Adobe Animator out of curiosity to see if I can make videos easier through that and make them even more animated. Now, it is possible that adding that extra element will actually, ironically, lengthen the process, because I will then be like, oh, and then I can tweak this and move this here. See, this is the problem. I'm a bit like that weird serpent thing in Fantastic Beasts, where it's like it will take up whatever space you give it. So if you put it in a tiny little cup, it'll stay within that tiny little cup. If you put it in a big giant room, it'll take up that entire room. I'm a bit like that with technology, where it's like, if I have limited technology, I will do it as best I can within that technology. If you give me better technology, I will work better within all of that technology. So we'll see. But although I do like the style that I have established with Man, but if I can find a way to streamline it, it would be amazing. Do you plan to do part 2 for the English monarchy? Yes, it is in production right now. Have you been to the Free Dairy Museum? I haven't been to the Free Dairy Museum. No, I haven't. I've been to the Tower Museum in Derry. It's fantastic. Wait, have I been to the Free Dairy Museum? No, I think I've walked past it a couple of times. It's over in the Bogside. I have not been to it, but I must go to it. But no, I've been to the Tower Museum in Derry, and I love it. They have a scale model of Derry during the siege of Derry, and I love it. Things like that. I'm a sucker for scale models. I just love scale models, and they have another scale model in the Guildhall in Derry as well. Love it. Let's see. Oh, the Mad Lad does a stream. Yes, the Mad Lad is here. Can I? A beer. That's that. You could do better than that. Hey, you should do battles instead of wars. Yes, I have been. I have also been trying to work out doing shorter videos. I mean, I did that. So Manny Man does mini history, and one of which was that the Acts of Union video, and that's something that I've been trying to work out how to do. Take a shorter piece of history, something that I can tell in 2, 3, 4 minutes and do. And what was nice about the Acts of Union video was I was actually able to use a lot of older illustrations. Although like I don't want to be constantly recycling old stuff either. But if it means that I can kind of generate new content for use and tell more history with use, then all the better. Of course, I mean, you probably have been noticing there's a whole new dimension to this channel where I have been posting up every single day on this day in history. So that's something now that I've been doing on my Facebook page, John D. Ruddy, artisty guy or whatever it is on Facebook. I've been posting them up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. I am on TikTok, if you didn't already know. And every single day there is a new post about something that happened on this day. Like, what was it for today on this day? Oh, what was it today? I'm trying to think. Go on. Yes, I remember. Yeah, the Iran hostage crisis began in 1979. Tomorrow, the 5th of November, I can't quite remember what happened on the 5th of November, but I'm sure something happened on the 5th of November, but I can't quite remember. So I'll try to remember what happened on the 5th of November, and we can go from there. But yeah, like the likes of those, I need to put more planning into my videos. So say the likes of tomorrow is the gunpowder plot. I could probably theoretically do a video about the gunpowder plot in 3 or 4 minutes. So yeah, I'm really working on streamlining my process, and the digital aspect of it is helping, because I'm able to edit the video while I'm also in illustration mode, which is really exciting. Whereas before I would do all the illustrations and then I would have to scan in all the illustrations one by one. As slow and monotonous as that was actually one of my favorite parts of the thing, because I was just like, my brain doesn't have to work for this, but I can just scan it in. Whereas now I can draw it straight and I don't have to construct, because I did a lot of overlays. I would do a map and then I would put another sheet on top of it and draw the little figures and where they would be on the map and all sorts of things. Whereas now I can do it all in real time. So it means that the production end of things is longer, but the post-production, the actual editing, is much shorter. Like usually editing a video would take me 3, 4, 5 days. Now it takes me like half a day. So, it's a balancing act. But yeah, let's see. How do you feel about most places not doing any ceremony for Remembrance Day? I mean, like, for the time that's in COVID, like, yeah, like don't gather in places. Simple as, I like, we're gonna remember them, lest we forget. I mean, of course, there is. I assume that's what you're talking about, that they've been cancelled or postponed or whatnot for, because of COVID. And that's totally understandable. I mean, there's been plenty of other things cancelled and postponed and changed. And, like, it's not the end of the world. and not only that, but or maybe it is. Some people would argue it is the end of the world. But no. In all seriousness, though, just with Remembrance Day, you know, I'll play the last post on the trumpet. Hold on, actually, I have it. I have the trumpet here. May as well. There we go. Hey, that's right. Oh, maybe not pointed at the microphone. That might be a bit deafening. Oh, I'll just skip to the end. Something to that effect. There you go. That's my little thing for Remembrance Day. Of course, in Ireland, that the whole thing of Remembrance Day is a little bit more kind of muddied. There is the controversy of whether or not people wear the poppy or not. Me personally, I mean, I have worn poppies in the past. I haven't bought have I bought? Yeah, I did buy a poppy once. You see, I would look at it as a way of remembering World War One specifically, and as a way of kind of like that whole thing of lest we forget. It's like World War One cannot happen again. We don't want that to happen. Like it was, it's like where a lot of people, oh yeah, the valiant dead. It's like they were thrown out into the fields of Flanders and France, and they were cannon fodder. Like, let's remember that. Let's remember that they were sent out to their death. Like that's my way of it. And yeah, there were very valiant people in there, and there were people who did make it out. But the political powers that were driving that whole thing were just insane. And when push comes to shove, like you need this huge, big, massive kind of political body to get all of these people to go and fight all of these people. All these people on their own, you'd be surprised. They might all realize, hey, wait a minute. That literally happened in World War One, where they all got up and started playing football at Christmas in 1914, where they're just like, oh, you guys are all right. Except maybe the Prussians. The Prussians were a bit difficult. Apparently, this is just according to one of the guys in the Peter Jackson documentary. Was it They Shall Not Grow Old? He said the Bavarians were really, really cool. The Bavarians were really nice and chilled out and very much kind of culturally very similar to the English. But then the Prussians were a bit colder. The Prussians were the imperialists. They were even the Bavarians were like, yeah, the Prussians are moving into the trenches tomorrow. So maybe try to actually get those guys. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Although without it, I'd be out of a job. Well, I'd be doing something else. Let's see, what do we got? Hello, John from Katano Savic. Hello, Katano. Have you ever heard of the Kaiserreich mod for Hoi? Oh, I apologize. I'm being very noobish. HOI. What's HOI? It's something of something, isn't it? HOI. I'm really. There we go. Hearts of Iron. Have you heard of the Kaiserreich mod? No, I have not. I haven't heard of Hearts of Iron 4. Whoops. Have you played the game War of Rights? No, I have not. That's how all of YouTube works. If someone has something to do that is good and popular, their new content won't be liked. I wouldn't necessarily say that. Didn't Ireland go back into the lockdown? Yes, Ireland did go back into the lockdown. We are still in lockdown at the moment, and we'll be in it for another couple of weeks at least. It's a strange one. It's a strange one. I mean, the major problem at the moment is the disinformation, is the people sitting there going, oh, masks don't work, or going, well, the numbers weren't as big whenever we locked down first, and yet this time it's so much bigger. It's like, well, there's multiple factors. Or they were like, oh, the hospitals weren't completely shut down first time, and it's like, yeah, that's because we locked down hard the first time, and people, this time, and I think a lot of the world are, anybody who is kind of locking down bigly for a second time are finding that difficult now, where there's less camaraderie, there's less, yay, we're all in it together, and now there's a bit more of a kind of a, I think because now people are aware of the skeptics who are like, oh, why are you wearing a mask? It's like, because masks, they're like, well, masks don't protect you. It's like, it's not about protecting yourself. Well, I mean, like, it is to a lesser extent, but you wearing a mask is not a selfish act. It is a selfless act, because you're wearing a mask to stop you from spreading your potential unknown COVID to someone else, so it's a selfless act to be wearing it, which probably explains why there's a lot of people going, I don't want to wear one. This is what really annoys me about the whole thing, is that there's all these people getting up in arms. It's they'll get in there, but there's a lot of people who are just wanting things to go back to normal. They're like, oh, like worried that this is it's becoming a totalitarian regime, or it's becoming a dictatorship because we're being told to lock down and they're clamping down on our civil liberties. It's like, it's not normal times, guys. Like, it's like, we can't just switch off COVID. Like, it's circulating, and as long as it's circulating, it's not normal times. It is a global pandemic. In the same way as if there was a war going on, it's not normal times. If there was a war going on, there would probably be rationing food and limiting where people go, and maybe even limiting what people say, because it's like, hey, I saw there was a whole pile of soldiers down there. No, like, it would be interesting to see how a war could be waged, like a war on the scale of, actually, no, I wouldn't want to see that, because that would actually, no. But in all seriousness, though, like, I've lost my trail of thought, because I was like, oh, do I want to think about World War III? No, I don't. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's like, it's not normal times, guys. And you can't just decide to wash it away with positivity. I had a Facebook discussion with a friend of mine, who was like, oh, but I'm just open to different people's truths, and it's like, but seriously though, like choosing to ignore COVID doesn't make COVID go away. It will continue to go around whether you like it or not. And that's the bit that just, like, I think it's just becoming very apparent, a lot of people's scientific illiteracy. And that may sound very harsh, but seriously, there are a lot of people out there. And no, I don't claim to be an expert, but this is the thing. There's a lot of people who are claiming to be experts, or, oh, I have done the research. And it's like why would a cabal of scientists be getting to get, why are, I think people are so annoyed with scientists, because scientists are coming out with all of these really harsh truths, and scientists are making all these discoveries that people are like, oh no, I don't like that. It's like, well, science doesn't care, you know. Um, so yeah, it's a fun time. It's a fun time. I'm thinking like it may not be done until maybe summer next year. You know, like I have that in mind. Like people are like, oh, when's this going to be over? You know, soon, soon, soon. And I'm like, if you look at the Spanish flu, like the Spanish flu was around for the guts of 2 years. I'm prepared for a year and a half of this, you know, until there's a reliable vaccine. What's there to do? Unless it progressively gets weaker and weaker and weaker, and people's immune systems naturally get stronger and stronger against it. But that's a big if, you know, and for those who are vulnerable to it, it is literally a killer. So yeah, COVID, fun. Um, Red Man Stone asks, "How was Ireland during the Cold War?" Oh, that's an interesting question. Ireland during the Cold War. It sounded like my Manny Mandel's history voice. Ireland during the Cold War was blah 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 blah. Us YouTubers always chat about our YouTube voice, and we all have one, and and that is mine. You know, Ireland during the Cold War. Um, well, what did Ireland do during the Cold War? I mean, Ireland has always been quite neutral, ever since its kind of foundation initially. They have kind of been neutral, and like even in World War II, Ireland was neutral, and um, and so we yeah, so we remained neutral throughout the Cold War. However, probably one of the major things to happen during the Cold War would be the siege of Jadotville, where they were. Oh, what country is it? I do believe it's in Congo now, and it was a regiment of Irish peacekeeping soldiers for the UN who were sent there in like the 1960s, and they were to hold this little village. It wasn't even a village; it was like a hamlet called Jadotville, and it turned out that this little hamlet was like the center point of control in the whole region or whatever, and they ended up becoming under siege from all of these French mercenaries, and they held them off. And I'm not going to go too much into it because there's I also plan on doing a video about that because I really want to do a video about that. But there's a brilliant film about it on Netflix. Highly recommend it. It's what's great about it is because it's Ireland. It captures the Irish sense of humor within it as well. You know, every Irish person just brings a sense of humor to whatever they're doing, and it's there. So I highly recommend. But yeah, Siege of Jadotville, Jodotville, I think. But yeah, Jadot. It looks like Jadot, but it's Jadotville. Let's see. Do you have a relationship with Cartoon Saloon? I wish I had a relationship with Cartoon Saloon. If you know anybody in Cartoon Saloon, I would love to get Manny Man Does the History of Ireland to a point where if there was a team producing it, I would love that. I mean, anybody would love a team producing any of their work. But if I could have a team of animators who could draw Manny Man reliably in my style, and that I was happy to like delegate all of that. I'm getting to a point where I'm beginning to delegate bits and pieces of work. I'm beginning to get funds to be able to do that. But yeah, if I could get involved with another company, it would be fantastic. I'd love that. But at the moment, no, I don't. But hey, if there's anyone from Cartoon Saloon watching, I do what do you call it? Storyboards. Hit me up. Let's see. As they say, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Tends to be said. Wish we had a louder voice for third-party members instead of the two lesser evils policy. I assume that's coming from the United States. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get a first past the post system. When it's whoever gets the most votes gets in, it always results in a two-party system. That's what happens in the UK as well. You've got, um, I mean, the UK is a little bit more diverse in its politics than the United States, but it's essentially Tory or Labour. Or if you're in Scotland, Tory or SNP, and in Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin or what it DUP would be the kind of main one now. Although SDLP is getting in there too, but that's the problem with first past the post is you're in danger of splitting votes. And that's why I will stand by proportional representation all the way. It has some flaws. It takes a lot longer to count, but it did result in it does result in more minority governments, but it also captures the will of the people much more effectively. That being said, a lot of people are like, oh, but Sinn Féin should be in power if that's the case. It's like, technically, yes, because they were the biggest party, but they weren't able to get enough support from other parties to form a majority coalition, and the numbers didn't add up, unfortunately. And Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael were able to combine their strength. Like, lads, just rejoin, just join up again. Like, I really think Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael should just join together again, and it would be a perfect time to do it next year, given the 100th anniversary of their split. I think it would be the optics of that, or even in 22, with the beginning, if they rejoin on the 28th of July 2022, which will be the 100th anniversary of the outbreak of the Irish Civil War. It's like, lads, there's the optics right there. It's like, what better way to mark the opening of one of the most shameful and terrible wars in Irish history than actually healing the wound that started it. That's my take on it. But yeah. I hope for better candidates from the Republicans and Democrats instead of third parties, as it breaks the whole system. No, I disagree with that, Can Kay. I disagree with that. If you can, well, you say it breaks the whole system. The system is broken. The system is broken between the Electoral College. Like, when you have the majority of people voting for a candidate and that candidate doesn't get through, that makes no sense. It makes no sense. And claiming, oh, but it's the Electoral College. Like, the Electoral College is a 200-odd-year-old system, dating back to the 1780s, when there were 13 colonies, and the rich guys in charge of the United States, thought that the people on the street were too stupid to know who was running for president anyway. So they invented the Electoral College. The Electoral College is a stupid system, and the United, or at least some people, well, you see, everybody knows the Electoral College is broken, and the only people who will defend it are the people who the Electoral College works in their favor. That's the thing. And right now it's the Republicans. It is working for the Republicans because it has allowed the minority of people to get their candidate through. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that has allowed the Republicans, because Democrats have much bigger support across the United States, but with voter suppression in the various ways, with gerrymandering, which is a massive problem, both sides do it. Absolutely, both sides do it. They have, it's so disproportionate, and and the fact that the Republicans are clinging on for dear life, and like this, what Trump is doing at the moment, it just feels like a Hail Mary. It feels like this last ditched effort to get in for this 4 years and then just tear the whole thing open. And loads of people are like, oh, why are people comparing him to Hitler? It's like if this is a big if, but if he manages to pull this off, if he manages to, I really hope he doesn't, but if he manages to pull this off, and the way that he does it, this will go down in the history books in the same way as like the Reichstag fire, where how was Hitler able to weasel his way in to the point where he could just take absolute control. And this, I genuinely think, could be a point, regardless of whether or not it's Trump, but everybody surrounding Trump and a lot of the Republican Party. I'm not saying that every single Republican is a terrible person. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And there's a lot of healing that is needed in the United States, because for a country called the United States, you're probably one of the most divided countries. And there's a lot of healing, and people need to get off of social media, because that's a big problem. Is social media is feeding you what you want to see. It's like, oh, they liked this right-wing video, let's send them a more right-wing video. Oh, they like that, let's send them an even more right-wing video. And likewise with folks on the left, sending them down the left-wing rabbit hole, sending them down the right-wing rabbit hole. And people are just going down these, and they're living in completely different realities. There are people who voted, like folks like myself, and people who voted for Biden, who are sitting there perplexed, looking at the Electoral College map going, how could so many people vote for Trump? They're not seeing what you're seeing, and you're not seeing what they're seeing, and like writing them all off as a bunch of racists isn't gonna work. You're not gonna make any friends that way. Not that you're looking to make friends necessarily, but and the problem is that this is something that I recognized 10 years ago, like when I was just a baby. But it seemed like the strategy, particularly within the Republicans, but just in general, and I'm going to be really harsh here, keep them fat, keep them stupid, and have them full of health problems, and cripple them with debt, so that you'll be more preoccupied with debt and health problems, and or so anyone who does have an education is crippled with debt. Anyone who doesn't have an education is more susceptible to propaganda. And in that regard, it's a case of keep them stupid so that we can tell them who to vote for. And that was working particularly for the Republicans for 30 years. And then Trump walked in and hijacked the game, because he was like, well, fine, I'm like, they were like, oh, let's put Jeb Bush forward. It's time Jeb Bush. We need another Bush in the White House. And Donald Trump just walked in and stole the show. And and people just took him right in. And because that is what they've been fed. They've been fed this story of the businessman who walks in and, like, looking at the Jack Donaghy of 30 Rock, who just walks in and just does this, like that, the lovable misogynist who, you're like, he's a prick, but he's our prick, and so loads of people. I think there is just a disconnect with reality sometimes, where people people think that it's TV, it's entertainment. It's like it's real, guys. It's real. And yeah, yeah, it's regardless of what happens. I mean, I'm genuinely scared for the country if Trump gets in, because the gloves will be coming off, tiny gloves will be coming off, and because he won't be looking for re-election. You know, he probably will. He will be looking like. I mean, he's joked about it before. You know, he's joked about it before. Where he's like, oh, maybe I could get in another 4 years after that. Like, oh, so I'm quietly hopeful for Biden, but nothing is done until everything is done. Let's have a look. Artemax says, "Hello, John. I grew up with your videos, and I just want to thank you for sparking my love for history." Ah, thank you very much. That's a lovely comment. Thank you. And you're welcome. And I'm glad. This is why I do what I do, to get people into history, because the more you know about history, the more you can look at things happening today and see patterns in the past and see things happening, and just rumble the whole table. But that's, some people will learn about history because it's like, which tank would win in a fight? And it's like, yeah, that's fine. And that's cool. And that's whatever. But if that's the level where you're going to bring it, it's like, oh, what if Hitler didn't invade Russia? Like, yeah, those what ifs are cool. Is that, but it's also about you taking that and identifying those patterns and applying it to now and seeing, and it's not saying that it's predictive, but you can see where it can go. And the one pattern that I will always kind of cling to, which gives me hope in humanity, out of all the times, throughout the Cold War, out of all of those insane moments where they could have pressed the red button, they didn't. That gives me hope that when push comes to shove, the red button wasn't pressed. However, to use the Al Gore, quite a fitting person to refer to amidst a controversial Supreme Court threatening presidential election. But what Al Gore said about the frog being slowly boiled, won't realize it until it's too late, as opposed to a frog you throw into boiling water. It's like, oh, it's hot, get out. And that's the one danger. I hope people can just cop themselves on and just start planning for the future, working for the future. Let's see. It's the voice that taught me history. I'm glad. Let me see. I'm quite behind on the chat, I think. I'm glad now, because there was a time last time I haven't done these chats in a while, but I think they've updated the chat a bit that I can actually stop and read, because sometimes it's be traveling too fast, which can be a pain. Let me see. I'm just gonna skip if you see. Let's see. So final thing, Wisconsin 20. Regardless of who wins, we need to reconcile and move forward. Yeah, but we all know both sides aren't ready to play it nice yet. Cameron Canedo. Yeah, that is true. Both sides are really, really hurt from each other. Both sides are really, really hurt from each other. And some, people have died amidst this, be it protesters being driven into by terrorists, or be it systemic racism within, and the police brutality that goes with that, and all the different, like, people have died in this, and I think the sad thing is that there's a deeply rooted mythology surrounding. I mean, there's a deeply rooted mythology about any country. Like there's a lot of dark truths about Irish history that a lot of kind of hardcore Irish Republicans kind of don't like to talk about. For example, like I always insist whenever I'm telling the story of Irish history, I include the massacre of 1641, where tons of Protestant planters were massacred in Ulster, because that was one of the things that instigated old Cromwell there. He's always over my shoulder. Cromwell to come over. Whereas some people sometimes when you leave out that massacre, it's like, and then Cromwell came over and killed all the Catholics. It's like, I mean, yeah, Cromwell was terrible, and I will never defend him. Except maybe his anti-royalist sentiments, maybe. But he, yeah. I just defended Cromwell. Oh my god! But people like to cling to stories, and America has such a strong story. This thing of the Wild West, and the founding fathers, and all this kind of thing. And it's like, and it's not perfect. Like when you say the Wild West, like that involves forced migration and genocide, and people don't like to hear that. People don't like to hear that. They like to, that cowboys and Indians. It's like, yeah, these were indigenous people who'd lived there for millennia, and we're sitting there going, why y'all coming over here? It's this, and the undercurrent. Some people will acknowledge that the undercurrent of white supremacy is there. Some people will know it and be like, yes, it's there, but we don't talk about it, but it's there. But there's a lot of people who don't realize that, and a lot of people who are ignorant to it, who are just like, oh, this is the story of the founding fathers, and this is why they did it, and it's all about freedom, it's all about liberty. It's like, yeah, and half the founding fathers were slave owners, like, and the whole thing of, and then the Civil War happened and slavery was over and that ended racism. It's like, no, like, the guys in the South kicked up such a fuss all throughout Reconstruction. They had to bring the army into the South to enforce like civil rights, and eventually they kicked up such a fuss over a presidential election where who was it, Garfield or Hayes or Chester A. Arthur? It was one of them with a big beard. But or Rutherford B. Hayes. I think it was Rutherford B. Hayes. Yes. Where they kicked up such a fuss about that, and he won the Electoral College, but he didn't win the popular vote. But interesting time. But yeah, and once Reconstruction ended, the South just fell back into white supremacy. It did. Where while Reconstruction was happening, black people were able to go and vote, and after Reconstruction ended, black people weren't able to vote. Like, legally, they had a vote, but the amount of hoops and walls and whatever that they had to go through to get to vote. Like, I've often thought of like during some of the mass migrations of black people just getting out of the South in like the 1910s and 1930s and whatnot, and where they just like went to other cities. Like, if they'd have known, like, they could probably have traveled to another country, like, and I'm sure a lot did travel to Canada, but like, claim asylum, claim like as asylum seeker, like technically they could have totally done that. I mean, there's probably a different time back then, different kind of legal measures, but like they could totally travel as refugees, going, look, people will lynch me if I'm like, and I suppose they just stayed within their own country and went somewhere else. But like that racial tension was everywhere, and it hasn't left. I mean, it's maybe not. I mean, people arguably aren't lynching. There were a couple of suspicious hangings in California earlier in the year. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting country. It's a very interesting country with a very interesting past and going to have a very interesting future. The hardcore conservatives will start militias and rioting, yeah, and then blame Black Lives Matter for it. He's already said that he has one. And I'm talking about Trump. Let's see. I'm going to finish up soon. Yeah, Trump's campaign tried to stop vote counting in Michigan. Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's like, stop counting, stop counting. I've won. Stop counting. Like, the lady doth protest too much, methinks. After also 64% of Nevada voters have already voted. So yeah. I'm gonna hop down to the end, see what people are saying. Yeah, also Delaware, the first trans senator got elected. That's fantastic. That like, as you know, every kind of step back, there is always a step forward in some ways, and yeah. Yeah, the whole thing with trans rights is very interesting. I mean, I've gone through quite a journey of kind of discovering myself just with regards educating myself. Like 5 or 6, like I was always very much of the kind of thing of, oh well, I've nothing against them. Yeah, if they want to do that, they can do that. But I never really understood it. I never really got it. I never really, understood a lot of the trans experience. Probably because I'm not trans. But I never quite got it, and I didn't really take the time to get it. And I was working in a group where like I was facilitating a group, and some of the people who were in that group who I was working with and who I'd be teaching were trans, or one was trans, one was two were trans, one was non-binary. And I, particularly at the time, I didn't know what non-binary was. I didn't quite get it at the time. And and part of me, someone else who was there, they were very much like I don't get it, and like what do you call them? Is this a he or is it she? Is it who? What's and just being a bit crappy about it. It's like, and so over the years, I partially educated myself by watching ContraPoints and seeing Natalie Wynn's transition, and particularly, it was really interesting, essentially, like seeing her transition on YouTube over the years. And like now her earlier videos are no longer available, but like seeing those early videos where she was in a different form, and just seeing that now where she's in a place where she seems a lot happier, I think. I mean, that's the impression that I get. Like, she puts up with a ton of crap, and loads of trans people put up with tons of crap that us cis people can't even begin to imagine. But they don't have any kind of hidden agenda. They're just trying to live their best life in the skin they're in, and if they, whatever way they want to do it, like, why get in the way of that? Why kick up such a fuss about that? So let's see. If you are still taking ideas for future videos, then what's say Manny Man biopics? Yeah, please. I'd love that. E.g. Jim Henson. You went right for my heart right there. Jim Henson is one of my heroes. I have always loved Jim Henson. Oh, he's so good. He's so great. His outlook on life, his creativity, the projects that he produced, fabulous. Yeah, I do. I do want to do biopics. If there is a Money Man does biopics, I need to get Money Man does. Yeah. Yeah, I need to. I'll work on that. But yeah, I definitely want to do one because I also want to do one on Tolkien, because I love J.R.R. Tolkien. He's amazing, and once you start going down that route, there's a lot that you can do, and arguably they could be produced a little bit quicker too. Arguably, we'll see. I actually have a script half written for Shakespeare actually that I was trying to write for the 400th anniversary of his death, and then it came and went, and John be busy. Do a video about the vice presidents of the United States. Michael Bryant, are you a Democrat or a Republican? So this is the problem when you have a simple binary choice. If I were in the States, I would probably be progressive. Probably I would be progressive. I would be voting for the likes of Bernie Sanders. I'd be voting for the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is one of the best politicians the world has. She is one of my personal heroes. I think she's amazing. She's the exact same age as me by a couple of months, and I just have nothing but respect for her. She's amazing. What she's doing for politics, seeing someone my age going in there and speaking for my generation and younger generations is just so refreshing. She's of a generation that grew up with the internet, instead of these, 70-year-olds sitting there going, so tell me more about this Twitter. And, she gets it. She knows it. She went on Twitch and live streamed a video game to get people in to vote. Yes. She's amazing. I love her. And she's got, she's great. And she knows how to grill people. She knows how to ask really good questions. I know why the right are so scared of her, because she's good. She's good at what she does, Let's see. So yeah, I'd be progressive. And this is why, your two-party system is broken, because there's so many people who would be voting because that happened in 1910 or whatever year Woodrow Wilson got elected. He got elected because Theodore Roosevelt ran against William Howard Taft, as in Roosevelt as a progressive, and he split the Democrat vote, he split the Republican vote, and so Woodrow Wilson ran away with it in a landslide. So independent, yeah, even though it's technically not a party, yeah. Independent could be whatever. Could be a boat. Fascism is the only way forward. Oh, keep telling yourself that, darling. It's a dark road. It's a dark road. If that's the way you think, jog on, to be quite honest, because, now, I mean, if you're joking about that, I just don't get it. I mean, I do get it. I do, that edgy humor, but the time and place, and now's not the time to be joking about it. And if you're not joking about it, all the worse. Let's see. I'll take three more questions, I think. I have an idea for a video, the Norman Conquest, 1066 to 1088. Well, that's actually covered in Monarchs of England Part 2. So it'll be in there. Like, I mean, it's not as detailed, but it's definitely in there. I've literally actually done all of that, so it's there. Here's part of the reason I don't want to vote Biden. He won't get anything done because he's so slow. Also, he wouldn't be as ruthless to the Muslim conquest of America in Michigan. First of all, here's the deal. You want someone in there who you can at least work with. The Democrats have not been able to work with Trump. They've not, because Trump doesn't want to work with them. He has no interest whatsoever. You want someone who at least has an open ear, and this is the problem. This has been a major problem. Is neither side's listening to the other, but particularly, and this is the thing, the right have not been listening because they're just like, oh, socialism, no, don't want to hear it. No, progressivism, no, don't want to hear it. So that, and then Muslim conquest of America in Michigan, like what does that even mean? You know, like, oh, there's loads of Muslims coming over. Like, grow up. to be honest, you know, what are they doing? Like, oh, they're going to bring in Sharia law. It's like there's plenty of people already living in America who want to bring in hardcore Christian law, which is just as conservative. Oh, well, they'll cut off their hands. It's like, seriously, grow up. Oh, there's communities in Belgium. There's communities in England. It's like, have you ever actually met a Muslim? Most of them are sound. Most of them are just like everybody else, you know. Just like Christians, there's a small few of them who are absolute nut jobs, you know, who are going, this is what my book says, and I'm going to do it because the book says so. Let's see. What sort of ties do you have to the animation industry in Ireland? Not a lot of direct ties, to be quite honest. I'm quite independent. But yeah, no, I would certainly like to kind of collaborate more with folks here. Let's see. My fiance asks, what compels a man to have facial hair like that? Well, funny you should ask that. What compels a man to have facial hair like this? This is not. Well, I mean, it is a choice. I mean, if I really should have styled this more because this side is just completely off. I would have had this side kind of symmetrical to this. But what this is about, to kind of bring this whole live stream full circle, this is about Movember. I'm going to put the link in the description. You can donate to Movember if you can. It is about men's health and promoting men's health. Why men's health? It is because men are useless at coming forward about health problems, be it mental health, be it, you know, checking for a lump somewhere. You know, it's men are useless at it. Like, in general, I'm generalizing, but so that is why it's specifically men's health. It's kind of aimed at, you know, kind of that kind of stuff. And so if you are in a position to be able to donate, please do. Thank you very much. Now, one more. Let me see. Let me see now. Okay. Do you think an Aaron O'Toole type of president, where they are right wing but also address some left wing issues, would be a good US president? Well, I mean, now, Aaron O'Toole. Who's Aaron O'Toole? I know Aaron O'Toole. Ah, yeah. I knew I recognized that name. Um, yeah, well, you see, this is the thing. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with kind of basic conservatism. Like, funnily enough, I know someone in the Canadian Parliament. Funnily enough, a member of the Canadian Parliament. They were at my wedding, and they're conservative, and it's interesting, that there's nothing wrong with being a conservative. Um, it's about and I think, like a basic kind of conservative, and that, like, look at what do you call it? At the United Kingdom, look at what's his name, David Cameron. I mean, as much of an absolute stupid disaster as the Brexit referendum was, like he was a conservative prime minister, but like he wasn't like this insane Bible bashing, lock up women and men only, and like he was as as someone kind of suggested to me, they're, what's the word, socially socially liberal but fiscally conservative, where it's like, well, what about the farmers? Yeah, fair enough. What about the farmers? What the farmers need to be looked out for, and that's fair, um, and yeah, I wouldn't have. I mean, obviously, I would prefer someone progressive. I would prefer someone who isn't, who is kind of looking to replace oil companies rather than kind of trying to suck out as much oil and make as much money out of the oil as possible. Like, I don't agree with that whatsoever. But when you have someone who has an ear open to the left, who isn't just going, no, 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 socialism, don't want to hear it, like, you're not going to get anywhere. And you're really going to divide your country further. When you're president of the United States, you're president of the whole country. You're not just president of the people who voted for you, And I think a lot of people were hoping that, I think a lot of people were hoping that Trump would be able to kind of step up to that, but he didn't. He didn't. He failed miserably at that regard. He pandered to his own people, and that was that. Let me see. Hey man, you should go to secondary schools and do history talks. I do. Of course, at the moment, it's a bit trickier with COVID, but I've been doing Zoom calls into classrooms. If you are in a classroom at the moment and you would like to get me, tell your teacher to get in touch with me. You can do so through my Facebook page, John D. Ruddy, or if you're a teacher yourself, get in touch through Facebook is probably the best place to get to me. Let's see. How long do you think it'll take until people realize that Jeb Bush is the rightful president of Earth? Oh, God. Money will get you lots of places, but he wasn't able to get into the White House. This is the thing. I mean, as Jeb Bush would have been not as bad as Trump. I mean, because Jeb Bush, because you see, this is the thing, he would be you've still got, it's that neoliberalism is the problem. That's neoliberalism is really insidious, and that is something that we're going to be at odds with hopefully if Biden gets in. He is a neoliberal, and he will have corporations in mind for a lot of decisions and stuff. But hopefully we'll be able to, I don't live there, but the people of America will be able to kind of have his ear. So let's see. Who teaches left-wing things to kids? Who teaches left-wing things to kids? Teaches. I mean, some of the basics of Christ are left-wing, where he says, hey, let's look out for each other. It's not about wealth. Hey, you set up a marketplace in the temple. This place is holy. You shouldn't be doing that. Basic caring for each other. And people just try to fob off um, socialism because it's like, oh well, look at what happened in the Soviet Union, look at what happened in Cuba, look at what happened here, look at what happened there. Yeah, like look at like Scandinavia. They're like, yeah, they've got high taxes. It's like, yeah, but they then don't have to pay for this, that, and the other. It's that service is there for them. Obviously, I mean, it's not as big a country but like, look at Canada. They've got socialized healthcare, and it's amazing. I mean, it's not perfect, but you're not worried about going into a hospital and then getting landed with a ridiculous bill. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. Like, it's capitalism. Like, the United States is capitalism gone nuts. I have no problem with like a regulated capitalism. I mean, I'm a bit of a capitalist right here. Like, I'm a business person, building a business slowly but surely, and making content and getting money for things that I own, so like you can't avoid it because that's the system that we're in at the moment. But if we were in a system where people were supported for the work that they did, it'd be an interesting kind of thing. Quite often people just can't think beyond the capitalist system because that is the system. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. My grand's medical bill was over 2 million by the time he got out. He didn't pay a dime because of the Affordable Care Act. I would die before I let them take it away from us. Here you go. Good old Obamacare. Not to be rude, but Obama was really bad. I mean, Obama was he was a neoliberal, and he did oversee a step up in drone strikes and a lot of that kind of stuff. But like, to say that Obama was bad, yeah, he wasn't able to close Guantanamo Bay, but that's because the Republicans in the Senate were like, no, we're not going to let you do anything. Like, yeah. I'm not going to get into that right now because I am going to finish up shortly, because this has been a wonderful live stream. I'm glad that I've opened it up to subscribers here on YouTube. And yeah, please, by all means, I mean, I know everybody is struggling right now. If you are able to donate to Movember, there's the link again in the chat. For men's health. That is why I have this ridiculous mustache. No offense to anyone who proudly wears a mustache like this. It takes a lot of confidence to wear a mustache like this. But yeah, I will be here again in December because I plan to do these monthly to everybody. But by supporting me on Patreon, you're really, really helping me out, because I'm able to support myself and my family. So yeah, folks, this has been wonderful. This has been very enjoyable, and I'm glad that I was able to get a lot out of my system. This is why we talk. Go and talk to people and express yourself. Yeah. But for now, go and if you want something fun and light, go and listen to Where Many Have Gone Before, my Star Trek podcast. It's on Spotify and all of the podcast platforms. You might like it. See you later, guys.